Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome to the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. You may know me as the former producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KMBR, and today, the Niners get it done in Seattle, escape with the win, but not without the drama, man. A lot of weird stuff going on out there in Seattle, including Jake Moody missing some more kicks. Man, it almost cost the Niners in this one. We will have to talk about that today.
Hey, everyone. What a game. We knew it was going to be one of those games that's going to be won in the trenches, but the trenches didn't look so well for the 49ers offensive line because they didn't get the running game going today. They only averaged 3.3 yards a carry, and McCaffrey looked sluggish along with Robinson. The biggest thing with the run game, I thought McCaffrey did a great job when he had a fullback in front of him. That's when he showed up more. He was more comfortable with the fullback in the game. But when they put him in the backfield alone, the offensive line seemed like they didn't even exist because the Seahawks defensive line was all over him in the backfield. So they need work there.
What's up, everybody? Brian Peacock here, Locked On 49ers. We got to talk Brock Purdy, the guts of a burglar. In the end, made the play, gave his guy a chance to make the catch, and the Niners snuck away. They stole a win in Week 1 from the Seattle Seahawks. Oh, you're muted, Eric.
I am. Stealing wins in Seattle, and the Locked On 49ers Squad Show starts right now.
To all the faithful, it's the 49ers Squad. Everything San Francisco 49ers every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from Levi's Stadium. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. For those faithful to the Bay, the 49ers Squad Show starts now.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. And this is the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. Thanks to everyone watching on the Locked On Sports, or Locked On, man, I did it again, on the Locked On 49ers YouTube channel and the Locked On 49ers podcast as well. However you're tuning in, we appreciate it. And I'm joined today by my two guys, as always, Brian Peacock and Dwayne Board, former Super Bowl champion Dwayne Board with the San Francisco 49ers, four-time Super Bowl champion at that. And this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And so much to get into from today's game. I mean, so many different directions that we can go, but I want to kind of get to what Dwayne was talking about first. The run game, I felt like, set up a lot of things for the 49ers today, but 31, I think, touches for Christian McCaffrey is an insanely high number. But just by game script, kind of seemed like that's what needed to happen. But it wasn't the most effective 31 touches that we've seen from Christian McCaffrey. Dwayne, what were you seeing out there? Why were was it just the 49ers not able to set up their run game, or was Seattle doing something to stifle McCaffrey back there?
Well, when they went with McCaffrey in the backfield by himself, it seems like the Seattle defensive line just keyed off on him, and got penetration up in the field. They got great pushback. They pushed the offensive lineman back, so he didn't have time to make his break, or it wasn't a hole there. Another thing too that showed up, I thought, in the second half was the use of the fullback more. When they brought the fullback in, seems like McCaffrey did a better job of running the ball and getting positive yardage. But man, if they're going to stay with that one back set, they got to block better up front. It's hard for offensive linemen to block on when they got one back in the backfield. And the thing about getting the positive yards, it sets up play action pass for Purdy. And that's when he showed up. When he was straight drop back, it was tough on him. They was bringing pressure, and he didn't have time, and it cost him a couple of times. Cost him an interception at a critical moment.
And really, the offensive line kind of continued with what we saw in the preseason. We didn't see a lot of the first unit in the preseason, but the second unit was really bad. And the Niners had no space to run the ball in the preseason. The Seahawks were really good running the ball in the preseason. That Seahawks defensive front, I think you can credit them a lot as well, because they're good and they've got some dudes up front. It seemed like they always had an extra guy too, like a nickel defender, a defensive back that was kind of in the backfield creating havoc and causing problems for the 49ers run games. Witherspoon and Kobe Bryant, and the first play of the game early was Nicky Manwari before he hurt his ankle as well, getting in the backfield. So definitely causing a problem. And it's never good, Dwayne, when your center is like turned the wrong way and looking at your quarterback and watching the guy he's supposed to be blocking, tackling the quarterback. That's never a good thing. I saw way too much of that. I thought the 49ers offensive line was soundly beat in this game. And for a Kyle Shanahan team, a 49ers team that's built around balance and run the football first, they kept at it. They kept running. They kept pounding, and they came out with a win. Usually when you lose up front, you lose the football game, and the 49ers didn't.
Yeah, they still somehow scrounged away with 119 yards on the ground. I mean, just battering Ram style, just 3 yards at a time. And Brian Robinson Jr., I thought, looked decent in his role. I thought he was displaying some toughness between the tackles, and I did really think that run game started to look a lot different when George Kittle went out for this game. I thought before then it didn't look bad. It didn't look good per se, but after George went out, I felt like it looked a lot worse trying to hit that outside edge. And kind of back to what Dwayne was saying, I do think that the 49ers kind of made like a concerted effort to get Juszczyk in there a little bit more on those run plays with Kittle out in this one. And I do think that helped them find some more room on the ground. And speaking of George Kittle, man, even though he was out in this game, he did impact this one. He did have that touchdown on that opening drive, that 95-yard opening drive to start off your first offensive possession for the San Francisco 49ers in the 2025 regular season. Get the ball at their own 5-yard line, go all the way down and score. But the drive alone wasn't the most impressive part to me. I can't tell you how many times I saw last year the 49ers get into the red zone, have some dumb penalty, a hold or a false start, something preventable, and then they just settle for a field goal. And that's almost what happened on that first drive. But they were able to weather the storm after the false start, I believe it was, on Farrell, and they were able to still punch it in. So a great job by the 49ers being able to score on that opening drive. And but after Kittle scored that touchdown, he was limited in this one. His final line, 4 for 25, or 4 receptions, 25 yards, and a touchdown. And then he was hurt. And then he comes out, and this game started to look a lot different. And we talked extensively last week about how if there's one guy that might be the biggest, the most important player for the 49ers to keep healthy, it's George Kittle, just because of how much he impacts on this football team. But the Niners still got it done, man. Jake Tonges makes the game-winning touchdown catch as time is expiring in this one, and I did not expect that ball to be caught in the air. I mean, Brian, I heard you talking about this with Crocky just a moment ago, and yeah, I think your line was 97% of that play you thought that ball was going to be intercepted, and I think, dude, it might be more like 99.8% of the play looked like an interception.
It was one of those no yes type of throws, and clearly Tonges was probably was the power forward in his high school football or basketball team, and Tariq Woolen wasn't. And Tariq Woolen had a couple of what a weird player he is. I bet Seahawks fans are pulling their hair out right now about him, because he's so fast and big, and he's a good player, but he's just an odd player. And there's some really weird plays that he gave up in that game that killed the Seahawks. But he was right there. It was like, just jump up and catch the ball. But Tonges made the play, and congrats to Tonges. It's his first. I think after the game, I just saw a quote that said it's his first ever game-winning catch, not just
any level.
NFL. I know it's his first game-winning catch in the NFL.
That's pretty crazy. I mean, this guy, this was his first NFL reception, not the touchdown, but it's the first time this guy had an NFL reception in a regular season game ever. And he comes up with the winning touchdown grab for the 49ers after Kittle goes down with the injury. I mean, just talk about stepping up when you need someone to step up, man. Like, shout out Tonges for doing what he did today when everything was on the line. And Reek Woolen, man, back there doing really weird stuff in coverage.
Eric, and this ties in as well to that Tonges touchdown over Reek Woolen. It ties into what you're talking about with Jake Moody, and the team doesn't have faith in him either, which is why you got to start thinking about, like if it's changing how you're playing the game, because legitimately, like, Brock Purdy almost threw an interception, and the 49ers lose that game because they're playing for 6 rather than playing for 3 right there. Yeah. And the quote from Purdy was, I think, yeah, it's from Cam Inman here. Cam Inman asked him after the game, asked Purdy if he was throwing the ball out of bounds potentially on that play. He said, no, I was just trying to give him a chance. We didn't want to kick a field goal, didn't want to go to overtime. We wanted to score and win right there. So I don't know if it was Kyle that told him, like, hey, we're not trying to kick here. We're trying to score a touchdown. So I don't care if you throw an interception. Go score a touchdown, right? Or if it was just the team feels that way, but clearly, Moody is affecting the way they're playing the game now too, and it could have cost him in this one.
Yeah, I mean, multiple times in this one, you could see the palpable frustration on the 49ers sideline after the first missed kick, and then the second one, I'm not going to blame on Jake, that wasn't his fault, but never a good situation after you clank the upright on a chip shot to come back out and have your next field goal attempt blocked. That's never going to make anybody feel good about that. And you could see, I mean, I think it was Pam Oliver who was doing the sideline reporting today on Fox, and she said that there were multiple players throwing their helmets around after that play. And I mean, I would be too, man. If I'm sitting there every day going out there and busting my A, and then watching this guy come out here and shank 30-yard kicks, dude. Like, I mean, Dwayne said something just before we hopped on here that I thought was pretty funny. Dwayne was wondering if Jake Moody practices hitting the upright because he's so damn good at it. It is so frustrating watching this guy go out there. And if I'm out there going to war every down and I see a kicker spoiling my team's opportunity to win a game, and I'm not talking about I need this guy to hit a 50-yarder. I'm talking about a PAT essentially, and this guy can't even do it. And for a guy like Dwayne, I can't imagine how this must just, if it makes me this frustrated, I can't imagine how much this must make your blood boil as someone who has been in that same situation and just watching this kind of stuff continue to unfold. And it's not like this is new. Like, we've seen the same old song and dance from Jake Moody since the second he got here. This is nothing new. This isn't groundbreaking news. This is the same old thing. So Dwayne, I guess my question here is, what the hell are the 49ers doing continuing to go out there with Jake Moody?
I have no clue, but, I know what the players were thinking. How long would it be before, he gets the call to come to the main office upstairs, to get that last paycheck. But, man, you can't trust the kicker. That's the problem, They got too much time on their hands, They walk around in practice and then they go back in and they check the email and then they check the stocks and all of that, But when it comes down to winning games, man, you got one job to do: kick the damn ball, okay? And when it takes the air out of the players, and you have to have a strong team to be able to overcome that. And I think the 49ers have enough leadership on that team to say, hey, we're not going to let a kicker ruin our day, And it's crazy, I'll never trust a kicker. But, going back to the game, though, Brock Purdy said it before that last year his problem was because of his receivers. He was trying to push the ball too much, trying to make something happen. And that showed up today, too. How about the long go route that Ricky ran, and they was playing man-to-man, and he threw a pick. And the pick, that was a big play. That was a big play for the Seahawks, And after that, they came on the field and scored, So, yeah, I think he still needs to be comfortable with the guys he have, because just trust them,
And he knows it too, and he even said about himself, and then he still went out there and did it in week one, even though it's something he was cognizant of and didn't want to force, and still went out there and forced it. But it worked out, and he did give his guy a chance. And so you got away with one. Brock Purdy, you got away with one this time. A really interesting game. What a roller coaster. Is that how it's going to be all year?
I mean, it's kind of what it felt like when during last season, right? Like the Niners, I felt like, I mean, obviously only 6 wins last year. You're expecting them to do better than that this year, or at least I am. But the even when they were winning games, and a lot of their losses too, like, were so chaotic. Like, do you remember that Rams loss where Tutu Atwell had that huge kick return? It was early in the season last year, and it was all those little weird breaks. It felt like went the opposite of the 49ers way almost every time. Like, almost all of those 50-50 situations, the Niners were on the wrong side of them last year. And that's not entirely luck. I think there's a lot of things that you can do to position yourself to to have a better chance in those 50-50 situations, so to speak. But which I guess wouldn't make it a 50-50 situation, but you get what I'm saying. But the Niners, I think it's going to come down to a lot of those types of plays. Like today, I mean, it was really like it was a 50-50 ball that was the deciding moment in today's game, that final touchdown. And it was Reek Wolin, instead of doing instead of sticking to his man and watching where his man was going, which I think is what he's supposed to be doing in that situation. Dwayne, you're the defensive expert here, so correct me if I'm wrong, but in that situation, when you're running man, you should not be trying to spy on the quarterback's eyes in the backfield for too long. Maybe take a peek, but like your responsibility is stick to that guy who is closest to you, stick to that receiver, and don't give him an inch. And instead, he's sitting there watching the quarterback's eyes, gets caught slightly out of position, and Niners walk away with this one with a win in this one, leaving Seattle. So.
Yeah, you're right. He should have plastered him. You know, if he would have plastered him like he was supposed to do and not have his eyes in the backfield, he would have intercepted that ball or either knocked it away, and it would have been an entirely different game then. So it would have came down to who again? Your favorite guy.
Yeah, and I mean, we
got robbed of another Moody kick. To be honest with you, that's what we needed. Is one more Moody opportunity in that game.
I don't know if this fan base can survive many more Jake Moody field goal opportunities without there being riots down Market Street, man. This is even just looking through the chat right now, like right when we started the show, I saw immediately the one of the first things I saw from Alex was that was an ugly win. We have to get rid of Jake Moody before we even really said Jake Moody's name. So like that kind of gives you the vibe on how 49ers fans are thinking right now. They just beat the Seahawks in Seattle, huge rivalry win. But what's on everyone's mind? Jake Moody missing more kicks. And so this is a big deal, man. Like I don't want to overshadow the win too much by talking about the negative stuff, but it's impossible to tell the story of what happened today without talking about Jake Moody yet again. And I am getting so tired of having the same old discussion. It's exhausting. You should expect your kicker to make a 30-yard field goal. I mean, 99 times out of 100, and I do not have anywhere near that close to level of confidence with Jake Moody, and I'm sure that you guys don't either. I don't know anybody who does. So it's a frustrating situation, but hey, ultimately today the 49ers get it done. They go into Seattle, they pick up their first win of the season and get off on the right foot. We talked about the importance to the 49ers season this year in starting fast in one of our previous shows. That was specifically what Dwayne highlighted as the most important thing for the 49ers this season. So off to a good start to check that start fast box. So good things from the 49ers today, and more good things we got to talk about on the other side. I thought they did a really good job limiting Seattle on the ground, and we also haven't even talked about Nick Bosa's brilliant play at the very end of this one, and I definitely want to get Dwayne's thoughts on seeing another defensive end in the 49ers colors just coming up with a huge play to seal the game at the end. We'll get into all that and more next on the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. Today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right means cashing in. And with football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. And week one's tough, man. Like week one, and if you're betting on week one, you're either as much of a degenerate as me, or you're just full of confidence. And either way, if I'm betting on week one, I'm trying to find as many discounts on PrizePicks as possible. And today, you had all sorts of options for this week. Dak Prescott, half a passing yard. Lamar Jackson, half a passing yard. Travis Kelce, half a receiving yard for next week is what I'm looking for. You can still get in on the Lamar projection for tonight because the Ravens game has not quite started yet. So you can get in on that right now if you hurry up and get over to PrizePicks right now. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Welcome back to the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, joined by Brian Peacock, host of the Locked On 49ers podcast, and Dwayne Board, former four-time Super Bowl champion with the 49ers. And big defensive day for the 49ers, I thought. And I mean, one of the main things you knew the Seahawks team was going to try to do was run the ball coming into week one, because new quarterback in Sam Darnold, and you got that two-headed monster back there in Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker III, the K9 as Tim Ryan loves to call him. And the Niners just completely stuffed these guys all day long, stifled the Seahawks. I mean, we talked about the Seahawks doing a good job holding the 49ers to just 3.3 yards per carry. The Niners held the Seahawks to 3.2. So the Niners did a great job containing this backfield. And Kenneth Walker, I mean, he had 2 yards per carry in this one. He was completely bottled up. So Dwayne, I want to start with you. Was it something the 49ers were doing specifically to stop these guys? I mean, we had talked a lot about how the 49ers, they got a lot of youth up front, a lot of new guys, a lot of new faces in the building, and they were still able to get it done. I mean, despite being kind of thin in the middle as well, I mean, they were able to do it. So what did you see out there that allowed the 49ers to bottle up the Seahawks rushing attack?
I thought they did a great job with they play a lot of 7-man in the box, you know, and that helped them quite a bit. And the thing about the Seahawks, they use the fullback too, and they only, like you said, they only averaged 3.2 yards a carry. But the thing that showed up the most was they only gave up 3 explosive runs. I'm talking explosive runs, anything over 7 yards. They had one run of 7 yards, one run of 8, and one of 9. And that's big, you know. Explosive runs will hurt you in the game, but they was able to hold them down and tackling too. You know, I don't think I saw one missed tackle. You know, they did a great job of tackling today.
Yeah, Fred Warner led the team with 8 tackles today. That's no surprise for anybody, but I feel like, you know, there were a few key plays where on pace-setting downs, early downs, that the 49ers defense would not really give too much on that ground attack for Seattle. And Kalia Davis made a nice play in this one to stuff a run up the middle. That one stood out to me a lot. And I mean, just we talked about Kalia also a couple shows ago as being the only 3 technique the 49ers had on their whole roster. So I really did think that this was going to be a bigger run game for Seattle, especially for Kenneth Walker. That really surprises me. Were you shocked by kind of the lack of run production, Brian, that the Seahawks had today, or did you kind of expect the 49ers defense to stand up to the challenge like this?
I had no idea what to expect from the 49ers defense because of the youth up front. You know, I didn't really know what the defensive tackle rotation was going to be. I still don't know what it's going to be honest with you. They filtered a lot of different guys in there, and then they put a bunch of defensive ends at tackle to rush the passer as well, which I thought was awesome. So one of the biggest takeaway for me was how good they defended the run after early on. They gave up, like on that long touchdown drive by the Seahawks, which was their second drive of the game. It was like 6 yards, 5. There was no explosives, but there was just short of that. It was like 6 yards, 5 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards, 6 yards, 4 yards, you know, and they were able to get down the field. There was one big throw to Jackson Smith and Jigba. Then they got, you know, kind of tightened up for them when they got to the red zone. Then they had the penalty on Upton Stout and were able to score the touchdown. But the way they went down the field there was like, yeah, okay, I don't know, man. The starting defensive tackles this year were last year's backups, and then you have rookies backing those guys up. And then as the game went along, as you saw a little bit of Alfred Collins on the field on that drive, and then the next drive, the third drive, the Seahawks went 3 and out, and CJ West was on the field with Kalia Davis that time. Mm-hmm. And then on third down, they went to this turbo package, which is something you don't see a lot from the 49ers, where, you know, sometimes you'll see a defensive end come play inside, but they had just all defensive ends on the field. So they had Yetur Gross-Matos come onto the field. He was lined up at defensive tackle with Michael Williams, who moved from end to tackle, which we did expect to happen a lot this year. Then you had Bryce Huff come in the game and Bosa as the ends. And then they used a blitz and dropped Yetur Gross-Matos into coverage. It's like, okay, it's like a little zone blitz. And getting exotic with Robert Saleh and a bunch of defensive ends on the field. And you saw a lot of Michael Williams in the inside. You saw a lot of Kalia Davis on the field. You saw a lot of Jordan Elliott, and you saw a lot of CJ West as well. And so it was a really interesting rotation for the 49ers. And I wonder if there's still kind of just ongoing competition into the year for who's actually going to be out on the field a lot. But clearly Robert Saleh on those passing down situations and in nickel situations and sub packages, he wants to get his athletic rushers on the field. And so we're going to see a lot of defensive ends lined up everywhere, which is great. And, a stunt got on that early drive, got Nick Bosa to the quarterback. And so, Robert Saleh scheming up ways to get after the quarterback too, and they really tightened up in the run game, and a lot of that was because of the linebackers. I thought D. Winters was awesome. He got our first game ball at Locked On 49ers podcast just now, post game. We always give out game balls after the game. D. Winters was awesome, and it looked like vintage Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw out there with Fred Warner and D. Winters. And I hope Fred Warner's okay, because I think he got kicked in the face early in the game, and he was bloodied and went right back out there.
He did. He I think he only missed maybe one or two plays. He was out there immediately. And just for a reference point, that drive that you were talking about where the Seahawks, that touchdown drive that they had, that was the same drive where Fred Warner came out and did miss a couple of those plays. So maybe you think some of that momentum that they were able to generate maybe might not have been generated if Fred didn't miss those couple plays. But who knows? It's all conjecture, but I totally agree with you about the D. Winters thing. I mean, this guy looked so fast out there today, and I don't remember him looking this fast at any point in time last year. And I'm not saying he ran a 4.4, right? Like we know this guy has the speed, but I'm talking about that first step quickness. I don't think we saw that same level of decisiveness in D. Winters last year at any point in time. And it seems like him having a full off season with Bob Saleh and knowing exactly what his role is with the team now. Because at this point in time last year, he was still kind of just a in the mix guy to hold down that position. And they were doing some rotations and stuff. So I think that him just knowing what his role is coming into every week and just knowing what he's going to do and how much he's going to be utilized and what his responsibility and job is, and having all of this time in the offseason to work with, Robert Saleh, who's just a genius on the defensive side of the football. I think all of these things have just really, allowed him to blossom. I mean, Saleh is also, he just kind of feels like a linebacker whisperer to me, man. I feel like this guy could take any mid group of linebackers in the NFL and probably turn them all into it. I mean, everybody makes the Pro Bowl nowadays, but he could turn a lot of guys who would otherwise not be on your radar into Pro Bowlers. And he just seems like anything that he touches defensively just immediately works. So really, really, really liked what I saw from all those different packages. They were really exotic and interesting that you were talking about, Brian. But I want to talk about Nick Bosa specifically, because I thought he had a very, very, very good game. And this is a guy who I feel like a lot of 49ers fans were kind of wondering, has he taken that half a step back where he's no longer in that TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons echelon of pass rushers? And I think he showed you today he's still got it, man, because Nick Bosa today, 6 tackles, 3 TFLs, and of course the strip sack at the end to seal this one. Dwayne, as a former defensive end, watching Nick Bosa wreaking havoc out there, just tell me your thoughts on watching all that unfold today. What Nick was doing out there on the edge.
Watching him, at first you thinking, well, Nick is not getting a lot done, rushing the passer. They was chipping him a lot, They was putting 2 guys on there, chipping before he come off the line, and then the tackle will take him. And also, he had a great play on a screen. Okay, I thought that was wonderful. He did a good job on that. And then he had, like you said, he had 3 tackles for loss, but he only had 1 quarterback hit. But he was effective. He came alive at the right time. At the end of the game, he played the tackle Lucas like he should play him, because he used a bull rush to push him back into the quarterback, and he did that because he didn't want to seem for the quarterback to step up and have a place in the pocket. He took the pocket away from the quarterback, so he was able to knock the guy back, Lucas, and the ball came out. And hey, he got a what do you call a triple double? Really, he got a forced fumble, a sack, and a quarterback recovery all on one play.
Yeah,
that's hard to do.
Dwayne, I want to ask you, how in this day and age does a team get so much better at tackling from one year to the next? Because they hardly hit each other in the offseason. You guys used to put in some work and be a little bit more physical in the offseason. And I don't know how often linebackers practice tackling, but I thought that was one of the, and you mentioned it a little bit earlier, this is one of the key things for the 49ers defense today is their run defense was not good enough last year. And you can point at a lot of different things, but there was no extra yardage on the field for the Seahawks today.
Well, I haven't been to a practice, but I'm pretty sure Robert Saleh, he looked at film from last year and said, hey, we need to incorporate some tackling drills in the training camp. You can do the tackling drills in the training camp, and also, you can show them film, of the great tackles that they made, that's being made, and also you can show them the bad film, the bad ones too. So I'm pretty sure that with him, he's that kind of a coach that he showed them something, to trigger the thinking, hey, I can be a better tackler. Tackling is, Ryan Lott always said, tackling ain't nothing but being a crash dummy. All you do is just running into people. So that's tackling. So if you have the desire to go out and be a crash dummy, hey, that's all tackling is. You're a crash dummy.
Yeah, and last year that was a huge issue for the 49ers. Just missed tackles all the time, especially in the secondary. It felt like last season, aside from Malik Mustafa, who was I thought very solid, but still a young guy. Last year he had his moments as well, but a guy I really wish that the 49ers had in the secondary right now, because I think that he could really help out this team. But I was also really impressed by some of these young guys in the secondary. Marquise Siegel was awesome today. I mean, he was flying around. He looked fast. He looked active. He was sticking his nose in there all the time, up playing close to the line of scrimmage on run plays. And I thought that he was great today. I also want to give Renardo Green a shout out, because I thought, that guy's a dog. I mean, he has so much fight in him. He just looks like he is going to war every single down out there and does not take any plays off. I love the way that this guy, that guy's looking right now. And with Lenore on the other side, even though Lenore did get, some work today, trying to stifle JSN, who had a nice day for the Seahawks. As a whole, the 49ers secondary limited the Seahawks to just 150 passing yards. Sam Darnold still trying to get his feet wet in the Seahawks system, it looked like, but ultimately, when you hold a guy to 6.5 yards per pass and 16 of 23 completions for 150 yards, like I'll take that any day of the week. And I think that this young secondary, having this be kind of their first game, I think that's a good sign, man, because this is nothing else. It's going to be a nice confidence boost for this unit. It's going to give them some stuff to look back at on tape and say, hey, this was these were some good things we did, and they can start scheming up for next week. And I do really like what we saw from these young guys, like I said. So there were a lot of questions that we had about this 49ers defense and all the new faces and just the new, very, very, very young talent on this team. But today, they all stepped up, man. And if the 49ers young talent can keep stepping up the way they did today, that's a big key for this team. That's yet another thing that we've highlighted in past shows as to being a just a massive level of importance for the 49ers success this year. And ultimately today, they got off on the right foot. But as I said, still some concerns, man. That offensive line did not look very good to me. I want to get into that a little bit more next on the other side. And we also got to talk more about, I think, Brock's day as well. He was really good in the first half, not as good in the second half as we've kind of indicated in some of our previous discussions today so far. But I want to drill in on those two things coming up next on the Locked On 49ers postcast. Or not postcast, Locked On 49ers squad show. Don't go anywhere. Keep it right here with me, Brian Peacock, and Dwayne Board right here on the Locked On 49ers squad show. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. The NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout. It's so frustrating, and that's why I use Game Time. It's the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. And I love that Game Time has all these zone deals too. Like you can just pick where you want to sit. Like the section and Game Time will find the best deal on available tickets for you. It's so easy. I cannot emphasize enough how easy it is to use Game Time, and not just for getting out to football games, which obviously you're going to be using it for that, but also concerts, any other sport you want to go to, pretty much any event you need a ticket for, you can get it through Game Time. And it is the easiest app to use to purchase any tickets that you could possibly find out there. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Welcome back to the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, joined by four-time Super Bowl champion Dwayne Board and host of the Locked On 49ers podcast, Brian Peacock. Today, the 49ers get it done against the Seahawks, 17-13 win in Seattle. It's a big, I always want to say at the link, and I know it's not the link anymore, but that's what my brain always still says. But big win nonetheless for the Niners today. I feel like they escaped with the win today is really the best way to phrase it. Let's start with the offensive line, man. And I kind of want to have this conversation about the offensive line and Brock's day at the same time, because I don't think you can really talk about Brock's day without talking about how bad the offensive line was at the same time. Because ultimately Brock today, I felt like he was good for the majority of the day. It just had a couple moments where it was just back to last year where it's like, you don't need to throw this ball in here. You don't need to force this to happen right now. What's going on? But that first interception, for instance, is one that I wanted to look back on. And Brock tried to step up in the pocket in that circumstance and tried to hit his receiver over the middle, deep down the middle of the field, and just got hung up. Ball got hung up, and it was the first drive in the second half, and the pocket just disappeared. Brock had nowhere to step up, and because he had nowhere to step up, he could not drive off that back foot and put any kind of velocity on the ball whatsoever. He had a defender right in his face, and he just chucked it up over the middle, which he shouldn't be doing. But at the same time, the guy's just trying to make a play, and he has absolutely nowhere to go to throw the ball. And it's not like there was a ton of separation out there on that play in particular. So I don't really blame Brock for that first interception as much as I kind of put that on the offensive line just as much as I put it on him. Still a bad decision to make in that situation when he can't get the arm strength behind it. But the second one, as Dwayne kind of pointed out earlier, I think that one was entirely on Brock, just trying to push the ball downfield in a situation where he shouldn't have. Ultimately, I look at the stat line. I see the 277 yards, the 2 touchdowns, and the 2 picks, 26-35. It's not bad, but it's not quite where I think we want it to be. Brian, what did you see from Brock today? What was your if you put the analyst glasses on, what'd you like? What concerned you from Brock's play today?
Yeah, I mean, just maybe trying to do a little too much in some of those cases. The first one, I mean, they're both on him. I think the first one, it was, and I think Greg Olsen did a good job of kind of illustrating what happened on that play with there was the free rusher. So Christian McCaffrey is the sort of outlet on that play, but he gets hung up because he has to be in pass protection. So he's not where Brock Purdy can dump it down to him because he's in pass protection. And then the hook defender there doesn't have to respect McCaffrey, who's coming out of the backfield, so he can kind of sink a little further. And so I think it's a play where if you run it in practice, you expect that throw to be there. And that's kind of like what makes Brock Purdy really good too, is he'll throw with anticipation. And if something's wrong timing wise, it might make him look really bad because he doesn't have extra arm strength to fit balls into some spaces. So he uses his brain strength, right? And so he knows where the play should go. He throws it early. He throws it before the guy breaks. He throws it to open spaces. And on that play, I think it's one of those where the way it's drawn up, that defender shouldn't really be sagging that far back, and that throw should be there. And he just kind of trusts it, and maybe trusts it a little bit too much. And again, in a muddy pocket, it's easy to sit up here and talk about, what a quarterback should do. It's probably harder for him to realize that linebacker is kind of dropping back further than he expects. And it was kind of similar to that last touchdown pass that ended up being a touchdown and not an interception. He's, giving his guy a shot, probably an ill-advised throw a lot of times, but he's got those guts of a burglar, and they came out with a win. And I don't know if I would want to coach that out of Brock Purdy, because it's part of what makes him great too.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he's kind of got a little bit of that gunslinger mentality to him, but he's I want to say a little bit more controlled, if you can kind of somehow, because part of being a gunslinger is that you don't really have a lot of control behind it, but he picks and chooses his moments, I think, with when he kind of lets that mentality rip, and he does a pretty good job of selecting those moments, I think, over his career so far. So I do think that that Brock had overall a decent day, and maybe we don't even think about the interceptions as much if Moody hits his kicks, and this one isn't as close as it was. But it just, I don't know, man. I feel like people will look at this game and say, this is they'll take those 2 interceptions and the perceived, like kind of floating ball into the back of the end zone, because we'll see that replay, I'm sure, over and over and over again, the Tonges touchdown at the end, and people are going to rip Brock for that throw, and that's just how it's going to go. But I mean, I would still rather have him than almost any other situation.
If Woolen catches that ball, we're having a very different conversation right now.
100%. And as Dwayne was saying earlier, Woolen probably picks that off if he's playing the right technique on that play. So tough situation for the Seahawks fans to find themselves in after that one. But Dwayne, same thing to you. What did you what encouraged you about Brock's performance today? What maybe made you have some pause in watching him out there?
Yeah, and what encouraged me today was the first drive. He did a great job of doing what the game plan called for. He found the receivers, and once he lost, we talked about Jennings. We knew that he wasn't going to finish this game, and he didn't. Okay, but then when he had Kittle, when he had his weapons, he was at ease. And then when the guys started going down, then that's when he tried to start being a hero. Trying to make a play. But if he just rely on the guys that he have, he'll be okay. But don't get in and with the defense playing the way it is, he doesn't need to do that. Just protect the damn ball. That's all the quarterback should be doing anyway. And we saw, later on in the game when he hit Ricky down the sidelines, they was playing man to man, and on double move, and Ricky got open, and he made a great throw. He didn't have to. And the thing that bothered me the most too, I think I don't know how many times he was hit. He might have been hit 8 to 10 times, So he didn't have the pocket that he needs. Your quarterback can't take a beating like that, especially when you got 300-pound guys jumping on him. That's 8 tackles a game, to a run. You don't want that to happen to your quarterback.
Yeah. Brock was hit, according to the ESPN box score, he was hit 8 times by the Seahawks in this one. So he did definitely take, like a full game's worth of beating back there for sure.
Look, one of the big storylines is the injuries the 49ers have dealt with last year and then this summer, and they actually had kind of a best case scenario with Christian McCaffrey being available and active in this game, and Juwan Jennings was out there and was able to start with Ricky Pearsall, and the whole offensive line was there, and Kittle started the game, didn't finish it, but now all of a sudden you see, okay, Kittle gets banged up during the game. Fred Warner leaves the game at one point, able to come back. Trent Williams leaves the game at one point, is able to come back. Christian McCaffrey, who a few hours before kickoff, we didn't even know if he was going to play or not, and he touches the ball 31 times. You can't let Christian McCaffrey touch the ball 31 times a game. You're not going to have Christian McCaffrey, right? And then your quarterback gets hit 8 times. So if you're a team that's trying to get healthier and stay healthier, it's not a great recipe.
Too, on those, they had 7 TFLs, tackle for losses, the Seahawks did. So that's telling you what. They tackled him in the backfield before he even gets a chance to break away. So that's a big too, that they got to tighten that offensive line up.
Yeah, and the one thing that I did really like from Brock today, like the most encouraging thing, in my opinion, from Brock Purdy's day was seeing that connection with Pearsall. And we did see how that had kind of developed. Like we saw that really great one drive in the preseason, and they looked like they had that chemistry going. Then we've obviously heard a lot about the chemistry growing in offseason and in training camps and stuff like that. But it's one thing to hear those things and see it in a preseason game. It's another thing entirely to see it in the regular season, right? And this Pearsall looked so good today with Purdy. And I know he only had the 4 catches, but we talked a lot on our last show about where are the big plays going to come from, and can Pearsall kind of be the guy who lifts the lid off the defense? And today, I think he showed you that he absolutely can be that guy. I think that he kind of put his stamp on this one with his 108 receiving yards, average of 27 yards per catch. That is very, very, very good. Along with 47, he was awesome today, or along with 45, excuse me. But he was very good today, and I think that connection between him and Brock is crystal clear, and that's going to be, in my opinion, a huge thing for this receiving core, because without Brandon Ayuk until supposedly week 6, but the way the 49ers treat injuries, I have a feeling that's going to be more like week 8, maybe week 9 or 10. That Ayuk comes back. Just I don't have any evidence to give you as to why I think that, other than the fact that just watch how the 49ers treat every other injury to key players in their organization. They absolutely lie as much as they're legally allowed to, and I think that they're going to continue to do that with guys going forward. So I thought that was huge. And the other part was like you said, Brian, Christian McCaffrey being out there and being able to be essentially the number 2 wide receiver today for the 49ers, in addition to their starting running back. He had 9 receptions for 73 yards. I mean, he was just looking for McCaffrey all the time underneath whenever he just didn't have Ricky down the sideline. So overall, I did like that they still displayed that connection even after Kittle exited in this one. You still saw Brock and Ricky get it going. It wasn't just Kittle pulling away attention from Ricky so he was able to get open. I mean, at that point in time, if you're the Seahawks, that's the guy you're keying in on, is Ricky Pearsall. And he was still, like I said, still managed to pull down 108 receiving yards today. So really, really, really glad to see that. And for me, I thought that was the best part of Brock Purdy's day today. Ultimately, the offensive line, I still got a lot of question marks about this. Like you said, Brian, watching Jake Brendel just turn around and watch Brock get hit by the guy he was supposed to be blocking was one of my least favorite parts of today's game. That and the Jake Moody doink, my 2 least favorite parts of the game for sure. It's
Jake Brendel's favorite guy has to be Jake Moody, because he's got fans talking about Moody instead of him.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about Jake Brendel a lot if Moody wasn't the big issue. I was literally just about to say that, and it's crazy to watch a center for a Kyle Shanahan team, because when I think about a center for a Kyle Shanahan run-oriented offense, I'm thinking of the quarterback, like QB2 on the field, basically, right? Like, this guy is directing traffic. He's telling the line, everybody else on the line, where to go and what to do, and it just doesn't seem like he's got whatever it is he needs to be able to succeed there. He just doesn't have it, to me, and I think that this has been long enough now that we've seen the same kind of thing from Brendel, and it seems like every year he kind of backslides a little bit, and it's not the direction you really want to be going. So I don't really know what you do. Like, maybe turn to Hennessy going forward, but I mean, I don't know if that's a better option. Like, Brian, what would you do if you're the 49ers? You just rolling with Brendel because you don't have another option?
Yeah, and it's tough at center because there's so much that's put on the center from a mind standpoint, and how so much they have to know and make the calls. So you can't just be like, well, I need a better blocker there, so I'm going to put another player there. So essentially, it's either Brendel or Hennessy, because those are the only centers they have on the roster. I think Drew Moss could eventually, be a center. I think he's more of a developmental guy this year, and maybe he'll get some practice work, and who knows, maybe next year he could compete to be a starting center. But Kyle Shanahan's not going to let anybody else on the field that's not Brendel or Hennessy. And I didn't see a ton from Hennessy in the preseason. Talked about how bad that second unit offensive line was in the preseason game. So I don't know if it's much better. But if Brendel's not playing well, then I think you got to give him a shot. There's times that Brendel's played really well too. And I think Mike McGlinchey, this happened with him, is he would have these highlight losses that you didn't realize how good he was most of the time because you would fixate on these really highlight losses and these really bad plays. And like when Micah Parsons is like hip tossing him, and you're like, come on, man. And it's just getting replayed on Twitter and you see it over and over again. You're like, this guy must be terrible. It's like, he's actually all right. He's not as bad as it looks at times. I think there's some of that with Brendel, but at the same time, it just wasn't a good look. And you already thought he's your weakest link on the offensive line coming into the year. They didn't do anything really to invest in their offensive line during the offseason. I just saw some numbers before week 1 that the 49ers have not only the oldest combined age of starting offensive linemen in the NFL, they have the third least amount of draft pedigree in their offensive line as well. So they haven't, they just find some veterans and coach them up. And that's kind of been their MO, and they've spent a lot of money elsewhere, and that's just how they team build. And so I think you have to be okay if you're a 49ers fan, knowing that the 49ers are not going to spend a lot and put a bunch of resources in the offensive line. They trust Chris Foerster to coach them up. They're going to try to get smart, tough guys in there, and they're okay having a league average offensive line, but they look like a below league average offensive line today.
Absolutely. And Dwayne, is there anything that you think the 49ers are going to be able to do now that the season's already started to fix up this offensive line much more than we see or is what we're seeing kind of what we're going to get for the rest of the year?
Well, I think knowing John Lynch, he's probably got his scouts in the office right now, because somebody had to let a good center go somewhere. You get 31 other teams out there, and somebody's got to make a mistake, and on somebody's practice squad, somebody could be hiding the center, But right now, I would be in my office right now with film on, trying to find a guy that I could bring in, because hey, you got to protect the franchise, right? And you don't want your center getting your franchise player hurt.
Yeah, I mean, in my my assessment is you got 2 of those guys back there that you got to worry about protecting, not just Brock, but McCaffrey too. Like this guy can't just be getting hit in the backfield constantly without getting his feet under him first the way that he does. That's obviously not just a Jake Brendel issue. That's an entire 49ers offensive line issue right after this game. But it's I mean, it is concerning when the the meat and potatoes of your football team is run the football, and you don't really have the horses in front of you to have a super successful rushing attack. And maybe the line clicks as the season goes on, as guys ramp up and stuff. But I think it's going to be kind of like what you were saying, Brian. It's going to be really tough midseason to just go find somebody to come in for and replace Jake Brendel. I know that all of the 49er faithful are going to be screaming and clamoring for somebody else, but it's not as easy as like you said, Brian. I mean, it's like trying to replace the green dot on defense, right? Like you can't just put anybody into that position, because you need someone who knows how to speak the language, communicate with everybody else, and knows how to just kind of be that second coach on the field and see things, diagnose them, and make the appropriate changes in the moment, and trusting that to somebody that, I mean, like I said, a big part of this is you got to speak the language of your offense. So if you just go and get some random guy off of, like if you do go find like a skilled center on somebody's practice squad somewhere, it's still going to take some time to ramp them up and get them familiar with the 49ers system and what they like to do. So it's not so easy to just, especially with the center, like maybe some other positions you can just, if you need a pass rusher, like you can come in on third down and rush the passer. It's going to look the same in pretty much every defense, but being a center from one scheme to another, I think that would be a very difficult thing to adapt in the middle of the season. So,
and the 49ers had all offseason to make a change. They don't think they need to, or didn't think they needed to. So this is the bed that they made. So we're gonna have to line it. Maybe you see Hennessy if Brendel strings together some bad games, but the 49ers have all the tape. They're building the roster, and they clearly didn't address the offensive line at all, and center specifically purposely. So I wouldn't expect them to do that now either.
Yeah, I mean, I was personally a little surprised that they went with defensive line in that first round of this last year's draft. I kind of thought that they would maybe I thought that the guy that Seattle took was going to be a guy that the Niners might take a chance on in Gray Zabel, but ultimately he ends up in Seattle. Mykel Williams ends up a Niner. And by the way, Mykel Williams, I thought he played really well today. I mean, he didn't have, you look at the box score, there's nothing at it that's going to jump out at you, but just the just with my eyeballs. Like I saw him eating up a lot of bodies on that Seahawks offensive line and drawing a lot of attention. And he just seemed like a handful to deal with out there, even though it might not have translated to stats on the box score. It looked good, man. And I think having him and Nick Bosa on that same line for this whole season, if you just even get one other guy up there to start clicking, this 49ers defensive line is going to be a problem for other teams. So really liked what I saw from Mykel Williams today.
I was hoping to see a little bit more pass rush from Mykel Williams when he was moved inside. I thought he did a good job on early downs, stopping the run. And he was kind of like stalemated quite a bit, which is good and bad. You know, he's trying to not give up movement in the run game, but he didn't really gain much. And he was, speaking of the box score, he might have been shut out of the box score completely. I don't know if he had a.
Yeah, I don't see him in here. He's in here. He had one tackle. But
one tackle. Yeah. So I was watching him a lot. I was watching that defensive line a lot and watching that young rotation. And to be honest with you, not a lot of guys were making a lot of plays on the defensive line. But I think as we talked about earlier, Dwayne, I think the focus was like, let's get better. Let's get better defending the run. That's the type of guys they brought in. And, you know, well, I'll blitz if I have to get extra pressure, you know, but let's get to third down first.
Well, I think, you know, as the season goes along, I think Eric said it that, you know, they'll figure out the combinations of rushes that they need on the field and when they need them on the field, you know. Bringing up that, it was one play right before the half when Kyle Shanahan called timeout, you know. I think it was right before they kicked the field goal. And they had lined up with only two rushes and a spy guy, and where the Seahawks ran a quarterback sweep with it, you know.
Yeah.
Guys, it was like, oh man, this is yeah. You know, situations like that, you're like, wow, what are they doing? You know, I'm gonna stay with 4 downs as long as I can before I go with something like that, a 2-man rush, a spy guy.
Yeah, that was Mykel Williams just standing up and it was like, well, this is really weird looking. Let's see how this works. And then you see Sam Darnold just scampering down the sideline. He's like, okay, well, back to the drawing board there.
Yeah, that look did not, you know, that was very uninspiring look from the 49ers, and it gave the Seahawks an opportunity for a nice easy field goal before the end of the first half. That little quarterback sweep got him like 9 yards, I think, on that play. It was interesting to say the least. But the 49ers ultimately hang on and get this one done. 17-13 win over the Seahawks. We got to take a quick break. On the other side, we're going to wrap this one up, put a nice big bow on it, and give you some lasting information from this game, some last minute, you know, big moments from this one that we think are going to stick with us through this week. So don't go anywhere here on the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. We will be right back. Today's show is brought to you by Upside. Hey, 49ers fans, are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited time promo code TOUCHDOWN and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You could make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already needed. At first, I thought it was too good to be true, but it's totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now using my limited time promo code TOUCHDOWN for a limited time 25 cent per gallon bonus. That's promo code TOUCHDOWN. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. Welcome back to the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, joined by Dwayne Board, 4-time Super Bowl champion, and Brian Peacock, host of the Locked On 49ers podcast. And ultimately, we talked about a wide variety of things that the 49ers didn't really do well today, some that they did do well, but ultimately, 49ers still won this game, right? They get off on the right foot, 17-13 win over the Seahawks, and this is a great way for the 49ers to start out the season. Dwayne, you talked specifically about the importance of starting hot. So how do the 49ers continue this hot start now. I think this is the beginning of a hot start, right? So how do they actually turn this into a nice hot start with a 2-0 record to start the NFL season? What do they got to do next week to keep this ball rolling?
Well, next week they're going down to New Orleans and they'll be playing in the Superdome, and it's going to be another noisy place. But you never know what's going to happen down there. That's a weird place to play. I never liked playing inside that dome because one time we played there on a Monday night, and we had to pull out a fire in the middle of the field. So somebody was shooting fireworks off. I mean, how smart do you have to be not to shoot fireworks off inside? So things like that happen down there. So, but the thing that is impressive with them going down, the 49ers were healthy. The Seahawks on third down to 33%, and they're going against a team that's searching for a quarterback. So, we're going to look for big things from the defense this game.
Yeah, the turnover battle.
If the Saints play and look as bad as they did in whatever the hell those uniforms were that they were wearing with the weird gold that's not even the same color as their helmet gold. It was like a weird pale yellowish gold color. Looked really bad. Looked like a bad Georgia Tech or Wake Forest uniform they were wearing in week 1. If they're wearing those uniforms, the 49ers don't need to worry about the New Orleans Saints in week 2. And to be honest with you, I think their team is pretty bad. So it was nice the 49ers were able to get out with a win from Seattle, because I think the Seattle defense can pose a problem. I think it's gonna be a good unit this year. And so I think the 49ers will have a lot better time against that Saints defense next week. And you just hope that, they're a little bit healthier and like George Kittle. George Kittle's so important to this football team. You saw how difficult it was for the 49ers to run the ball when he was out of the game, and he impacted the game so much in just how long was he in the game? Half a quarter, right? And so
a drive.
One drive, 4 catches, 25 yards and a touchdown, and was nearly the entire offense in a drive. And so that's how impactful George Kittle is. And by the way, just being a real good dude and getting his fantasy owners 12.5 points before he left the game too, right? Like that's the type of guy.
Man.
I'm only going to play a quarter. I'm still going to give you a solid amount of points for your tight end slot for your fantasy team. So big ups to George Kittle. I hope he's well soon with that hamstring, because he's fun to watch play. He's a huge part of this 49ers team.
Yeah, the 49ers will absolutely need George Kittle. Maybe you can beat the Saints without George Kittle, but you don't want. It's still a pro football team. You still want your best horses out there whenever you're playing. But ultimately, I think that the 49ers offense should have a little bit more room to work against this Saints team, like you're saying, Brian. The Seahawks defense strikes a lot more fear in my heart than the Saints defense does, especially in those really awful uniforms there. I don't think they're striking fear in too many people's hearts, except for maybe like fashion designers or something. I don't know, man. Like they're pretty scary uniforms in one sense of the word. But yeah, man, the not a great look by any means. Thankfully, we don't have to worry about that with the nice, the nice red and whites the San Francisco 49ers got.
Well, the 49ers do have gold uniforms. Or gold is one of their colors.
They do.
I think it's a good lesson, because a lot of 49ers fans are like, oh, they should go to the gold alternates. And it's like, well, if it's going to look like that, they definitely shouldn't go to the gold alternates.
Yeah, I completely agree with that one. That's about all the time that we got for you guys today here on the Locked On 49ers Squad show. It's been a fun one. 49ers win 17-13 in Seattle, and they can now start focusing on next week. The New Orleans Saints, they're going down to the Superdome, and hopefully they'll come out with a win against Tyler Schlau and company. So we'll see how that goes for the 49ers next week. And for me, myself, Eric Triple E Engel, Brian Peacock, and Dwayne Board, thanks to everyone for tuning in. Appreciate you guys. Would not be a show without all of you. So if you aren't already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button right now, and make sure you don't miss any of the shows. We'll be coming to you live. Brian will be doing his daily show as he always does, and we'll be right back at it with the Squad show sometime this week. We'll be giving you guys updates on Twitter. Follow me at Eric_Engel or Brian at BD Peacock, and we'll get it going. Dwayne, you don't have a Twitter, do you? You don't have an X account, do you?
No, I'm old school. If I need one, I get one. Okay.
Instagram going though, don't you?
Huh?
Don't you have the Instagram going? I think I saw on Instagram.
Okay, that might have an Instagram.
Okay. You don't even know.
My kids probably set it up. You know?
Oh, okay. You got an intern running your social. I see.
Yeah, you know, I've been usually using pigeons for messages. My message pigeon service is a lot cheaper.
Hey, when you're big time like Dwayne Board, you get the option to have the intern run your social media account. You know what I mean? If you're me or Brian, we're just doing it ourselves.
Yeah, sure, my intern gets me a social media account.
Well, make sure you're following me and Brian on Twitter or X or whatever the hell they call that website these days, and we'll be sending out updates as to when our next show is going to be, and we'll try to get a more solid schedule for you guys going forward. Yeah, thanks so much to everyone for tuning in. This was a very fun game for the 49ers, mostly because Jake Tonges caught that touchdown at the very end to send us all home happy. So Niners win 17-13. Thanks so much to everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Peace.